our next speaker, Mark O'Mara. For those of you who don't know, maybe you just don't watch TV, he was the attorney for George Zimmerman in one of the most publicized cases ever in the United States. And he's a high-profile criminal defense lawyer now. Sort of blew up your brand after that case. People probably have tons of questions about that all the time, how that affected your firm.
You know, Mark taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to talk to the press. So Mark, you know, when we see you on television, you know, these days, you know, you certainly, you know, have handled, you know, a number of high profile cases. You know, you are a tremendous lawyer, but you're also a tremendous communicator. You know, you did phenomenally well as the president, past president of National Trial Lawyers and so many other organizations. So let me ask you, Mark. After the Zimmerman trial, let's talk about talking, you know, to the media. What's your golden secret?
Honesty. If there was one word, yeah, just be straight, be genuine, and present the case. I see so many people get on there in the media and try and argue their position. Everyone, as we know, turns off. You saw someone like a salesman, and you just need to stop doing any of that. But let me do this, because you know I don't like war stories. I really hate my own war stories the worst, because I don't like just getting up here on a Zoom or in front of 1,000 people, whatever it might be, and start telling them, oh yeah, this is what I did. So really focusing on what we can do. And Bill, I've had conversations with you individually, Harlan, Sarah, everybody. I just want to reset, because the rest of the universe doesn't necessarily look at what we're going through the way this group does, or the 400 people who are listening to us. Let's reset and remember that, you know, 8-12 weeks ago, this thing sort of turned into a very bizarre new existence for most of the universe that have to deal with it. And yet within that, groups like this, and I really mean not just lawyers, but lawyers who have taken this as far as what it really is, as the amazing opportunity, have seen within this craziness the chance not only to salvage and actually excel their own practice, but to be the models for those other people out there who are very afraid of what's going on. So I want to acknowledge Bill, everybody else on this panel, because the normal reaction is to go into survival mode. And we have all seen it. We've seen it with family members. We've seen it with staff. I'm still dealing with that on both levels. We see it with our contemporaries, or people, you know, our brethren in the practice, who are looking at this and they just hunch down in the corner and hope that the hurricane is going to pass and that somehow they will survive. And they will, probably some will, some won't. But the idea that the groups like this have taken this as an opportunity over the past 6 or 8, now 12 weeks, is what I really want to acknowledge. Because it was funny, while I was sitting here sort of waiting, you know, you always look for little signs and signals. I'm out on the Gulf Coast in the middle of nowhere, which means I'm near Pensacola, and the jets come by, the fighter jets. And this guy is up there doing, you know, a $60 million, and he's got all of the power, and he can do whatever. He can make it through a hurricane, he can do whatever. I'm sitting there going, you know what? We got to take that on. We got to be as precise as we can with taking the power that we have, our commitments, our staffing, our systems, whatever it is, and just weather through this. It was really cool. And then about 2 minutes later, this group of pelicans came by, not making a sound, barely moving their wings, following the breeze, and making it in a way that just looked not only beautiful, of course, but very efficient. And it made a lot of sense. You know, the way they work is that there's one pelican that goes first, one bird, and then they'll switch. But that one who's leading it kicks out sort of a draft that the other ones have an easier time with. And I'm sitting here going, wow, jet engine, I like that. And I feel like a jet engine. I like having that power. But also we got to realize that within all of this that's going on and all the craziness, that if we work together, and if we look and realize we're going to get through it, there's no question about that. Can we get through it more as a group than we can individually? And that's what I've noticed in these meetings and similar meetings like this, and other, you know, thought leaders who have taken to the forefront and said, yes, this is crazy. Yes, we have to go 6 feet away from each other. Yes, we should wear masks and all that. But the reality is, it is those people who are saying, yes, this is what we need to do. Whatever that might be, we are in effect the thought leaders of how to get us through this. So within that context, we could look at someone like Sarah and notice and what she has done. A phenomenal job what Sarah has done to take not only the opportunities that present, but do it in a way that is human, not just, you're getting divorced, you have to come here. None of that. It was the presentation of how to, I love that, we are going to be here to help you transition. That's not just a slick marketing thing. That is a lifestyle, a personal philosophy that imbues her practice. And whether it's Alex or whoever it might be, the idea of using these as opportunities, because I will tell you, and I heard it first again from, it might have been Harlan from you and I talking, I forget who started it, but when the term opportunity first came through, you know, sort of joking around out here on the coast, you know, there's an opportunity with a hurricane. You can fly a kite a hell of a high and fast. You know, there are always opportunities with how you look at things and how you're going to present. So taking all that sort of as the foundation of how we got here, how do you do that with the media? Let me spend a couple minutes on that. Obviously, I've been blessed with having a great media presence and being able to get out there and when CNN calls or when it's Court TV or whoever, it's great. But there are opportunities out there for all of us to have much better input with the media. And here's some quick ideas and ways to do it, just sort of practical points. If you turn on the TV, within 3 or 4 seconds, someone's going to say COVID or coronavirus or something else. But what that means is that the local reporters and the regional reporters are starving for something that is not just what's the number of deaths right now. So if you can have a unique message, if you can go in there and say, let me tell you something, like Sarah, let me tell you something about what's going on. There are a lot of people suffering out there because they're out of jobs. And now a situation that was maybe critical in a divorce case is now hypercritical. And I want to let you know that there are people suffering not just because they lost their jobs, but because their families are shattered because of this. There's another very difficult area to talk about, domestic violence. But there is a big uptick. We don't want to talk about, there's a big uptick in domestic violence and how that drills down into it. So the idea of being a thought leader, somebody who can go to a local reporter or a regional reporter and put together a, look, this is what people are going through. If you're in personal injury, and the idea that, well, you used to be able to get to your physical therapy. So the car accident that you had, now at least you're getting help. Well, you can't get to physical therapy anymore. So whatever the area, it's not just criminal or family law where we can focus it, the idea of getting to the media and talking to them about these areas that are the passion of us, our, not just livelihood, but our lives, and getting that across, you will find a very, very willing audience in the media to get that information out there. And here's something else. You know, when I get on CNN or Court TV or one of those, it is $1,000 to rent a studio for that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's a lot of carrying costs. Well, let me tell you something, not anymore because of this. Now, all of a sudden, Sarah, you or anyone, you can get on with a local TV station with Zoom and it costs $0. All of a sudden, their production costs have gone really far down. Of course, I've been complaining to judges, they should be doing Zoom meetings for the last 10 years. But now what we have is we have an opportunity cost to get in, which is virtually nil. It is literally a camera on your iPhone, if not your Surface Pro, right? So now all of a sudden, these cub reporters, court reporters, local reporters who are, you know, do have budget and do have constraints, now have an opportunity to get that information out to you even quicker. And again, they are starving for it. So whether you have those pre-existing relations with local media, go out and start them now because they truly are starving. I've got, you know, CNN people calling me going, we want to talk about anything other than Corona. Do you have something legal that we can talk about that is not Corona related? So I think there are enormous opportunities to sort of jumpstart your media presence. in a situation like what we're facing. And again, if you become the person to go to for 1, 2, 5, 10 local reporters, they will keep coming to you because you now are their go-to person 5 months, 6 months down the road, when we're now going to be talking about the after effects of Corona, the after effects of this or whatever. Now, all of a sudden, you're sort of in the cadre, you're in their corral. So be glad to talk to anybody about this offline, call me, whatever. I'll give you some more insights that we can share in the few minutes we have here. But I think there are some great opportunities, not to mention there are opportunities for clients also, or for lawyers in the areas like Rotary clubs and things like that. They're still trying to have Rotary clubs, but they're having them Zoom. Go out to them. I mean, this sounds a little bit lower level, but it's not, because you know, Alex was saying, or a question was asked of Alex, you know, in this downtime, now that you have some time. And by the way, I'm still waiting for my downtime. I have been working my butt off 7 days a week. So if somebody has some extra downtime, I'd like to purchase it from you, because I could use a little bit. But during this time where it seems as though we're not at least rushing to court as much, there are great opportunities to get out there and get your name out, and that will have sustenance well past this.
Yeah, Mark, I think the biggest opportunity that's going to come out of this is communication, and how you communicate with your clients, how you communicate with the public. You know, one of the things that you do, and you suggest, and you've said this to me, is you make it easy for people to do business with you. You make it easy. I'm not talking about on the criminal side, you know, what it costs and all. I'm talking about, you know, through your relationships with the media. You know, you make it easy for people to contact you. You are absolutely correct. You know, when you're talking about opportunity, you know, we're in a society right now where the news starts at 4 a.m. The two biggest segments of growth in communication and television and is news, 24 hours a day. Television stations are growing in news, and they're growing in sports because people want live sports, and they're looking for fillers. I mean, you're absolutely right, using the word starving, but you have to put it out there, and you have to leverage those relationships. Most importantly, what you do and what you taught me to do is to be available. To be available, and let them know what you're available about. Give them the reasons to, you know, to make the availability for you. You talk about domestic violence. Unfortunately, there's a tremendous spike in that. You know, all of a sudden, you know, I'm living in, you know, I'm watching, you know, television here in Arizona, in Scottsdale, and for the last several nights, they've done a special on the news. You know, they've really touched on it, where a week ago they didn't even mention it. You know, you talk about traffic. Traffic right now, people are driving like crazy because they don't think they're going to get pulled over. That's terrible.
Yeah, and everyone is carrying this up. We are not carrying the stress of this the way most people are. And if there's an awareness, we need to understand that the fact that we know how to handle stress. You know, someone was sort of joking with me, and I remember when they said, well, what about this, and what are you doing? And I just remember, you know, remember that I do my best work if I am hyper stressed. So the idea that you're going to tell me a hurricane's coming or COVID is here, it's not my style to do this. I'm sitting there going, great, this is an opportunity. But we do have to remember that our clientele and our staff and other people in our periphery do not carry the same psychological or genetic dysfunctions that most lawyers do, that we actually enjoy crazy levels of stress. But so you have to be aware of that.
Well, that's our business, but it also dovetails into, you know, our leadership. You know, we are being called upon, you know, by a tremendous amount of people, you know, because we call them, you know, we're called the gray hairs. Well, maybe not you, Mark, but myself, and because yeah, it's sneaking in around the bottom here.
Oh, trust me, it's there.
and it's because of the experience that we've gone through. We've gone through ups and downs. You know, I always say that, is the glass half full or half empty? You know, it is always half full. I hate to use the word opportunity because it sounds opportunistic, But opportunity is in front of us. You've really got to
Oh, yeah.
sit back and think about it. You know, one of the things that you've also mentioned to me in the past about, you know, press conferences is go into it prepared. Have your notes. Understand what you're going to talk about. Stay disciplined. Don't get thrown off, you know, by the questions that are going to be thrown at you. Stay on mark, on game plan. And I think
Oh, yeah.
that's what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. I mean, and again, not trying to give, you know, in 1 or 2 second answer. You know, the media has no idea what we know as well as we know it. You know, you have a reporter who comes in and is handling a fire in the morning and a car accident in the afternoon, and then your case in the, you know, in the evening. Answer the question you want to answer. That's a good bit of advice when they don't answer their question. Answer the one you want to answer. But yeah, just present and do not get out there and start talking about stuff you don't know. You know, most people look at that big round black disc and their brain disconnects to their mouth. So just be careful. Media is great and it can be very dangerous. Most of the time that I spent with Zimmerman was that someone was trying to trip me up, you know, for like about 2 years straight. So you just got to be careful, you know, what you present. But it's a great opportunity, again, for those who are listening. You know, if you have the time, you have some downtime, work through your fear and concern about that. But realize that there are these type of opportunities, and media and the presentation to media is one of them that'll have, I think, long-term beneficial effect.
You know, I think you should approach communicating with your clients in a similar way.
Yeah.
You know, communicate. Think about what you're going to say to people. You know, say to your client, you know, you don't have all the answers, but you know what not to say. And I think that's one of the most important things. You know, I've always said I may not know what to do, but I certainly know what not to do.
We don't have a lot of time, so the real quick joke: the doctor charged $5,000 for the cutting something off, and the guy goes, "You were on me for like 3 minutes. How could you charge me $5,000 for that?" And the doctor looks at him and goes, "No. It was $500 to do the cutting. It was $4,500 to know where not to cut."